Kultcha. Yeah, what up, it's your boy Alley Cat. And I'm Twin. You are now watching the Kultcha. One and only. Ready? Yeah, what up, it's your boy Alley Cat.
And I'm the infamous Twin.
And you are now watching
The Kultcha.
today's topic.
Black cadavers or cadavers, depending on your pronunciation of how you like to pronounce the word. We're talking about grave robbing today.
The definition.
Let's get to the definition. Now the definition, a little shaky with it because I kind of don't rock with the definition of it as far as, you know, an encyclopedia or maybe on Google.
But you still have to give it to the people.
Oh yeah, we're gonna give it. All right, these are dead bodies that is taken up by physicians, right, to monitor and to look at and to study the cells.
For science.
Right, of how they died, the science of how they died, so maybe they can improve on it with living people.
So we're going to get into it because we're going to do what we do, how we do it, and give you a little bit of knowledge of what's going on and what has gone on in the past history. Because if you don't know your history, then you don't know your future. So you need to know where you came from to know where you're going.
Yeah, this is not that topic today where you hear, you know, when we was younger, you know what, they used to rob Italian graves because he had on that gold chain.
But you know what's funny?
Or that pinky ring.
No.
Yeah.
Because you know what's funny?
What's so funny?
My father's body got snatched.
That's crazy.
Funeral home picked him up, and I didn't assign that funeral home to pick him up. I didn't agree with them to pick him up, and they had to bring him to the original funeral home I said he was going to. So that's a form of body snatching. So they kind of still do it, because you could talk to a funeral home and they'd be like, nah, I don't want to go in, and they did it. So, but
that's crazy, because today is not that topic of we talking about them robbing a casket because they paid all this money to put a gold casket underground and somebody came and digged it up. We're not talking about stuff like that. We are talking about robbing graves. We're talking about actual bodies. Now, when we go back to the history a little bit from the beginning, they always been robbing graves. When you go to pharaohs, when you go to Tutankhamun, King Tut, King Akhenaten, Queen Sheba, whatever you want to take back to 2,500 years ago, they was robbing those graves. They was robbing those sarcophagus. That's what they call it in the Egyptian, you know, books and dictionaries. It's called a sarcophagus, you know what I'm saying? So they used to rob them because the casket also was made of gold, but also they would bury those kings and queens with lots of jewelry, lots of stuff to take it to the next life. One of those things was boomerangs. A lot of people think boomerangs is a Western invention. Actually, it was found in one of the pharaoh's casket. This is where they got the boomerang from.
And they thought that was found in Australia.
Oh, see, there you go. I didn't even know that. This is food for thought. This is right now. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about robbing graves. And when we talk about robbing graves, there is one particular people who always do this for some reason. Before we get into what we really want to get to as far as the medical field. I know y'all heard it in our previous video, but we are talking about there's always one specific people who always grave robbing. And they always robbing when it comes to the majority, another race of people. And that's us, right? That's what we're talking about. That's us. So when we talk about it in just, because we're going to get into the details, we're going to talk about one, how grave robbing was actually fashionable and very common back then. Two, how the medical field have risen up to this today from grave robbing from black people. You know what I'm saying? And how, third, how scary it wasn't. People wasn't scared of it. I mean, they was literally just digging up graves and snatching the dead bodies out. You know
so they was stopping them from sleeping in peace.
Well, I believe they went to the next, you know, if you believe in the next life, I mean, the body's just a
But they desecrated.
I mean, they definitely desecrated and disrespected the gravesite, definitely. So when we talking about robbing prominent kings and queens, it was very important for them to do this, robbing those graves. It's because they felt like they wanted to take power away from the deceased, the dead person. Because a lot of those people would take stuff into those afterlife, and they thought that them taking those objects into the afterlife, that living rich and living forever, they actually thought that was bad for them. So they wanted a piece of what they had. So that was one of the very beginning prime reasons why they did that. You know what I'm saying? Now, if we get into the time we is today, because we could always talk about back then, there's tons of stuff when it comes to grave robbing. I mean, actually, there were certain chemicals in those sarcophagus that when they opened, some of those white people died. Those archaeologists perished because of the chemicals that was in those sarcophagus. So after that, they became very sketchy about opening up those sarcophagus. But when we get to modern day today, and we're talking about the medical field, The medical field, St. Jude, St. Mary's, these hospitals have risen up to power, economically, dominance, off a grave robbing. There used to be people who used to go to these graves and have an open truck and stack bodies, dig up the graves, and stack bodies on top of each other and deliver them to the hospital so they can experiment on them. That's why back then a lot of people actually thought when they went to a gravesite, they actually thought that the deceased one was still underneath because you have the tomb. But back in those days, a lot of them wasn't even there. The bodies was not even there.
It was just a headstone.
It's just a headstone. Actually, in Philly the other day, they have taken out a funeral home and remodeled it towards like a school, but they have found babies, dead babies, up in the attic, stacked on top of each other. So they was like, who kids is these that died? And why wasn't they buried? Now, what they did, at this time, I call it modern day time because we're not talking about the Egyptian time. They took these bodies and they experimented on them. They experimented on the parts, right? Because I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but our genetics, some may say may be superior to compare to other genetics. So who would you want to study? You want to study the Superman. You want to study the Superwoman. And this is what they used to do. Study us at this intense level. What you think?
Well, I think that's playing into the role of society of the modern day abduction. And people talking about they shooting melanin.
I like that. Skin. Abduction ain't got to be live people.
Taking kidneys and livers and these body parts. And shit, they just found the cure for cancer.
Ooh.
In Europe. So, I mean, all these abductions and how they say, it's not just human trafficking or sex slaves, it's body parts and things of that nature. So now you don't have to take a dead person because sometimes you can't wait for a person to die. So I think this is all playing a part with the abductions because I just seen a guy on social media, I don't know how real it was, but he said he got melanin in his skin and he's white. So where did he get it from? Where did the injections come from?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that was crazy. So he's actually turning black. I mean...
Yes. So within that being said, you have body snatches, which was, at one time in era, it was dead bodies.
Yes.
But now these abductions are still body snatches because now they're using live people and killing them.
No doubt.
And it's probably being used for studies. Big corporations.
Ben did.
So within that being said, this whole breakdown, the hospital St. Jude, which ain't that a cancer hospital for cancer patients and all these nature, and all these researches and studies. Yes, you would use the black man because they said we're the black man or the black woman because we are superior. We dominate in anything and everything that we do. Physically.
That's why, even in the 60s and the 50s, the black woman was scared for her black man, and the black man himself was reluctant to go to the hospital. That's why they say a black man lived longer when he married, because the black woman forces him and stuff like that to keep the relationship going and make sure they both live a long life. But as an individual black man, the reason why we have that, cognizant dissonance in our head was because every time we used to go to the hospital and they put us to sleep, our leg would be missing. We come in there for a cough. We come in there for a flu shot. Our arm is missing. If we wake up, they took a body part.
I took a spleen.
Yes, this is why. I'm not saying everybody. I know one person say, I never was going to go to the hospital. I went every time they checked up. I'm saying back then, a lot of black men didn't want to go to the hospital because of that.
Because of the stigma.
Yes.
But it's still in society this day. A lot of people are not, black men don't really go to the doctor and get their physical checkups and things of that nature. It's not just working out. It's how you eat as well.
Speak on it.
It's all these things of that nature to be healthy. And it goes past what you eat. Because all these things come to play, but it also takes your mental state. I'm not stressing, letting things go. So, they say health is wealth. But we don't want to get off the topic.
No, we're not.
So,
we're not.
When you say death and doing studies, man, modern times, they doing studies now. Like I said, these abductions, you're seeing everything being done, and I mean, you're seeing bodies being created. Nobody has a natural body no more. There's no natural beauty no more in the essence. Nobody's accepting what was given to them. And if you didn't like what was given to you genetically, you can work out and change certain things about yourself, your look, as in saying toning your body and shaping it and shifting it around. Now, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I think everybody's beautiful.
Okay.
And if you don't hold them eyes, never you mine. Okay. So if that person is not your cup of tea, but my mother used to have this saying, and everybody says it. I think everybody says it. It's somebody for everybody.
No doubt.
So
you don't want to get off the topic.
We're not getting. I don't want to.
It's like they rob you when you alive.
Yeah.
For your mental, and a lot of your physical.
But now,
and I'm also letting people know they rob you when you're dead.
So these cadavers and things of that nature, they use it for black studies. They use it to study the race, the nationality of people.
Yeah. Actually, medical studies. I just want to say this: medical studies is black studies. It's the black human studies.
Because they use this majority of it. They use the slave.
Exactly. When you go to the doctor, they say you're vitamin D deficient. You need more vitamin D in your body. You need more sunlight. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. The whole study is about black people in the medical field. That's why when you go to your local physician, you go to your local doctor, what do they tell you? They always act like, the forbidden study is the black study. A lot of times they give you answers and what to do next with your own body based on a 16-year-old European.
But even when they do that, they just started doing your DNA study of saying what foods to eat go into your DNA. But all the studies was really based around us.
Nah, no doubt. And that's the whole thing. From the way the doctors wear the butcher vests, that's what a butcher wear. The bodies on a table to get butchered up, to be cut into. I mean, surgeons alone, surgeons is a form of butchery. You know what I'm saying? Look at the first surgeons. Look at the original surgeons.
Well, the first surgeon was a barber.
Exactly. And what they used to do, bloodletting. Right? And this bloodletting is like a form of butcher. Yeah, definitely.
And if you didn't see that, we have that up there. We did the history of the barber. But back to what we were saying.
And that's the whole gist of it. Because I actually, for the black cadavers or cadavers, I usually talk about it from a drowning water perspective, right? But that's dealing with like maritime admiralty law.
But they have a movie. What? They did a movie in Get Out.
Okay. Yes.
Get Out.
Love that movie.
I don't know if it was, I think his name was Peele or Keenan. It was one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
He directed it and wrote it, whatever it is the saying. And believe it or not, that's similar to what we're talking about.
Black genetics.
Black genetics, they studied us, and believe it or not, they want us.
No doubt.
They don't want to be us.
No doubt.
But now it's coming to a point where if you look at the studies, they really want to be us.
No doubt.
So once again, we have so many oxymorons.
And that's the whole gist of this topic, because it's the study of us, but when you look at 13% of black people being actual doctors and being paid $200,000 less than your average white doctor, there's a huge problem.
And now who took over the medical field is the Indians.
I see a lot of them. And, look up the book. It's called Black Tax also. There's a brother out there with a very good book. It's called The Black Tax. You can go on Amazon or anything like that, get a soft cover book called The Black Tax, where it tells you these percentages of black doctors and how they get paid less than a lot of these doctors. And the history is us. The medical field is us. The genetics is us. The surgeons is us. All that stuff is us, of how to heal the body. All that stuff is us. You know what I'm saying? So we just saying that to say, once again, I'm gonna regurgitate this. They want you when you're alive, everything that you embodied, and they want you when you're dead too. So even in death, you can't escape institutional racism. I'm the twin.
I'm Alley Cat.
And this is the Kultcha.
We out.
This is All Hearts, White Hate, Abductions.